Good evening and welcome to another episode of Thank God for Football. It is Friday, everybody, so we are trying to get you guys ready for the upcoming games this weekend. Jay, it's exciting to be back again. Lots of really good games on the slate this week. Excited to get through a lot of our conferences again, talk about some really good games. We'll quickly just talk a little bit about last week. So we had some really good games going on last week too. So South Carolina Vandy ended up being kind of more interesting than what people thought about. Sellers going out, Vandy getting the win. Cal taking it to Minnesota as well last week. Georgia
Go
Tech.
Golden Bears.
I know 3-0 now. So, and then Georgia Tech hitting the last second field goal to upset Clemson at home. Another tough one for the Tigers. So, Jay, I'm very appreciative to have you back on the show again. So let's kick this thing off again. Now we are brought to you by Arden's Burger and Grill. So we thank Donnie and Angie for all of their help for our show. Thank you for all your support as well. So Jay, it's just another week, another awesome time for college football. So we're
Yes,
gonna
it
kick.
is.
Yeah, we are gonna kick this week off with our good friends from the Coaches Box. They are going to give us our SEC preview of the week, and that segment this week is going to be brought to you by Pepsi. So we'll let you guys enjoy the SEC, so we'll take it away, Coaches Box.
Hello, everybody. This is Chris Miller from the Coaches Box. Call Like We See It podcast with our SEC preview this week for Thank God for Football Game Day. In this SEC preview segment, it's brought to you by Pepsi. So whether you're gearing up for game day, hanging out with friends, or just need a perfect refreshing break, nothing hits the spot quite like an ice cold Pepsi. It's bold, it's crisp, always refreshing. Pepsi is the taste that fuels the moment. So crack open a Pepsi, and I'm telling you right now, you're not going to regret it. I haven't. So let's get back to the show. This week, the SEC, not quite the matchups we had last week. We've got a bunch of SEC teams playing their JV schedule. You know, Vanderbilt, who's been playing exceptionally well, they're playing. Georgia State's coming to visit. That's a big win. You've got Southeast Louisiana. They're going to go and play LSU. Again, Sam Houston, they're playing at Texas. Those are all massacres. Northern Illinois, Mississippi State. That could actually be the game that the SEC decides to not show up and play. Arkansas at Memphis. I mean, I kind of hope Memphis wins because I'm not a big Arkansas fan. But, again, we don't have quite the matchups that we had last week. I felt like we had a couple of good ones last week, but I'm going to give you our three best this week. And you're going to just laugh when you hear this, but our first matchup this week that we're going to preview is Florida against Miami. Yeah, I know, right? Florida. This has national implications. Obviously, it's on a national stage because Miami, they're undefeated. They're number 4 ranked team in the nation right now. They're playing Florida. Florida is reeling. There's all kinds of talk right now that they need to make a head coaching change. He's been bombarded. So again, a lot is on the line for this game. You never know. There could be a midseason coaching change if Florida decides to lose this one. And I mean, I still think it might turn out to be a good game because of the rivalry with these guys knowing each other. They were all recruited back and forth between these two schools. Miami is only at this time is favored by 7.5 points. I think that might have went up since the last time I checked, but it's still one of the better matchups this week. I still look for Miami to win, and again, could be very interesting. Then our next game is Mizzou, South Carolina. Really hoping South Carolina could have took care of business last week against Vandy. They didn't, and that's why game day isn't in Columbia. Good job, Gamecocks. Now I hope you lose again. Mizzou, they're 3-0. been playing really well, especially in the running game. I mean, you can't say enough about what they're doing in the running game. It's been very impressive. And again, not to sound like a complete Mizzou homer, I think that if they can get Bo Pribula's passing to match what his legs can do, this could be a scary good team in the SEC. Just not quite sure if they're if they're at the level they need to be. But the running game with Ahmad Hardy, I mean, just light it up. They can't turn the ball over, and I think they're going to be fine. Right now, again, this could all change. They're favored by about 13.5 points. It might have dropped a little bit, but again, it's a game that Mizzou needs to win and come out injury-free to continue on undefeated as they are. I do think they will win. It could be a close game. These two teams usually play each other fairly close. Our last preview game for the week is Auburn, Oklahoma. It's the only in-conference game between two SEC opponents this week. Both teams are ranked, surprisingly. Auburn being ranked is a surprise, I would say, for a lot of people. And Oklahoma, they're playing well. The key player to watch in this game is Jackson Arnold, who used to play at Oklahoma and now with Auburn is coming back. So could be a very interesting matchup. It's at Norman, so I think this is where you give the edge and the advantage to Oklahoma. It's very tough to go in there and play. Obviously, you saw what happened with Michigan. They struggled, but it could be an interesting game. I would have to say it is the best game of the week in the SEC. When you're talking about ranked teams playing, it's the all SEC matchup, so conference standings are on the line here. Oklahoma is favored at this time by 6.5 points. Again, these could change. You just never know. But I do look for Oklahoma to walk out of this one undefeated and Auburn to maybe come back to earth a little bit. So, again, should be interesting to see how those games go. But that's our SEC preview for this week. Tune in next week for another SEC preview for Thank God for Football Game Day. I'm Chris Miller with the Coach's Box Call Like We See It podcast, and we will see you all again next week. Tune in to our podcast if you like. We'll talk a lot of college football next week on our show, but keep watching this because, hey, it's a lot of fun, and there's going to be more matchups coming. We'll see you all next week.
All right, thank you guys so much for that amazing preview from the Southeastern Conference this week. Tons of really good games on the slate this week, as well as some really good ones from this past week as well. And then next up, we're going to go and see our good friend of the program, our good friend Sitting Pretty Dog Grooming underdog pick of the week. Jay, I heard he's got some really good things to talk about this week, couple games to review, so it should be fun to hear him and see what he's got to talk about this week. So hope you guys enjoy the underdog pick of the week brought to you by Sitting Pretty Dog Grooming.
Hello, everybody. It's your old pal Underdog. This week's Underdog is going to be SMU versus TCU. Give me SMU in this game all day, every day. Ooh, ooh, ooh.
All right, thanks so much, Ralphie, for your underdog pick of the week this week, brought to you by Sitting Pretty Dog Grooming. For all your dog grooming needs in the Anderson area, go to Sitting Pretty Dog Grooming. So, Jay, it has been another great week, too. So, next up, we're going to hit your neck of the woods down in the Southern Conference. And our good friend and co-host Jay Jacobs is going to give you guys the insight this week for the Southern Conference as well as the review from last week. So take it away, Jay.
Hello, everybody. This is Jay with the Southern Conference news and notes. And that's brought to you by Beef and Rib in Westminster, South Carolina. Make sure you go by and see Angie and her crew, and they will take care of you. Beef and Rib in Westminster on Main Street, right beside Dollar General. All right, let's go to the Southern Conference. Had a rough week again last week. A couple teams are off this week, so we're going to start off with Wofford at Virginia Tech. Give me Virginia Tech. Both of these teams need a win. I'm glad Wofford finally got a score in the end zone. Hopefully that's going to lead to a better game, and Virginia Tech is vulnerable because they they have just been horrible this year. But I think Virginia Tech's got a few more Jimmies and Joes than Wofford. So give me Virginia Tech. Next up will be Mercer going to the Citadel. This is an interesting game. I think the Citadel's got a good chance in it. Tell you what, go ahead and let me have Citadel over Mercer in an upset. I think Mercer's going to come to play. They're doing a lot better now, but I think Citadel, they're at home, and I think that will be the difference. Next, we got VMI going to Richmond. VMI is an interesting team. They've performed pretty decent this year. Richmond's been a team that's been kind of out of place, but I think Richmond pulls this one off. Richmond over VMI. Next game, we'll have Sanford going to Western Carolina. Wow, this is going to be a game of teams that really need a win. And I think when it's all said and done, Western Carolina gets the win over Sanford. Next game we have is going to be Elon going to East Tennessee State University. ETSU is going to win this game over Elon. I mean, Elon's been pretty decent, but give me East Tennessee State over Elon. And then the final game is going to pit UT Chattanooga versus Tartus. Give me UT Chat in this game. I think they're going to do very well. The Southern Conference needs big wins this week, especially from their top teams. Furman's not going to be playing this week. So give me the Southern Conference to really try to get some strength up. I know they've been beating up on each other and they've had some tough losses versus the FBS teams, but give me the Southern Conference to have a better week this week. And of course, it's brought to you by Beef and Rib in Westminster, South Carolina. Go by and see Angie and her crew for the best meat and three you've ever had. Plus, they got all the specialty burgers that you want. If there's something you want different, give Angie a call. She'll be glad. They also do catering. And we want to thank them and Ardensburg Grill in Central South Carolina for all they do for Greenville Sports Media. And this has been the Southern Conference Roundup. Welcome back to TGFF Game Day. Now we're going to go straight to Justin with our Clemson Family Wish ACC look at the league.
Thanks, Jay, for that introduction as well. We are going to take a look back at the ACC this week. So, Jay, the ACC once again had another rough week. They went 9-6 last week. We were live on hand for the Wake Forest NC State game. We got to see that one up close and personal for NC State to get the win there. Cal got a much-needed win on the road. They improved to 3-0. Georgia Tech also had a huge win in Atlanta against Clemson. So the Tigers are losers of 2 in a row now. So tough week for them. But also we have some really good games coming up this week as well. We have another Big Four rivalry game in Durham this week for NC State and Duke. We're going to talk a little bit about that one later on. But first we're going to talk about Clemson is taking on Syracuse this week at 12 o'clock. So Battle of the Oranges. And I do think, Jay, I think the Tigers get this one done this week, though. I think they're poised to go on a really big run. Right now they've got the running game going as well. So I really like Clemson this week. Another really good one this week is going to be, obviously we talked about NC State, but we're going to talk about North Carolina as well this week. So the Tar Heels struggling a little bit, Jay, but I do think they get it done this week as well. So I'm going to take them at home. I know it's at Central Florida, but I don't like the Knights. So I'm going to take North Carolina this week as well. And then we're going to take Cal is also playing in the late game this week. So I'm going to take the Cal Bears for my third team of the week. I think Cal improves to 4-0. So that's going to be our look ahead to the ACC. All right, Jay, next up, we're heading to the Big Ten. Our good friend Mark Livingston is going to be looking at our Big Ten games for this week. He's also going to be taking a look back at that as well. So hopefully Mark will give some really good insight into that as well. So that's going to be brought to us by our good friends over at Cowboy Revolution. So get all of your good gear at cowboyrevolution.com. And Mark will let us know what's going on there in the Big Ten.
What is up, football fans? This is Mark Livingston with our Big Ten roundup for the week for TGFF Game Day. This segment is brought to you by Cowboy Revolution. Go to cowboyrevolution.com for any of your cowboy apparel. Please use code GSM. You get 10% off of any of your purchases. So go check them out right now today. I'm sure you'll be satisfied with what they have to offer. So right now with the Big Ten, things still, like I said, hasn't too much shaken out. I don't think. I still think your top teams are still, right now the best. You have Ohio State, Penn State, and Oregon. I think are the three teams to beat right now. You may have some sleeper teams coming through. But like I said, this weekend, while a lot of your big teams are not playing, as far as Penn State and Ohio State this weekend, it still has some intriguing matchups. So the first one we're going to talk about right now is Illinois and Indiana. Right now, this is number 9 team in the country facing number 19. So it's two ranked teams going at it. They're both opening up their conference play. Illinois does have Luke Altmaier, who transferred from Ole Miss as their quarterback. He's been playing very, very well right now. Going against an Indiana defense, I think he will be okay carving that thing up. But Fernando Mendoza for Indiana, their quarterback, has been playing very well himself. However, this one right here, I'm going to probably have to go with Illinois in this one right now, in a very, very close one. But like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if Indiana could pull this one off. But I'm rolling with Illinois and the Illini in this one. Second one I think is a very interesting game. Nebraska and Michigan. Michigan, they did have that loss against Oklahoma, but overall they've been playing well. Bryce Underwood is continuing to improve. I really think he's going to be a star in the league. Justice Haynes at running back has been playing very, very well. Also, Nebraska with their sensational quarterback Dylan Raiola, they're undefeated right now, surprisingly and quietly. So right now, like I said, Nebraska, it could be one of those sleeper teams in the Big Ten. They are a team to watch. Right now, Matt Rule does have those guys playing really, really well. I'm going to go with Nebraska in this one. I really do like what they're doing out there, and I really think that they're going to be a team to watch here in the future. So give me Nebraska in another close one. In the third game, that's going to be Wisconsin versus Maryland. Wisconsin coming off of a tough loss against Alabama. They never could really get anything going. Playing Alabama in Tuscaloosa, I don't care, if Caleb DeBoer is your coach, Nick Saban, whoever, that's still, going to be a very, very tough place to play. Maryland also is trying to show people they belong. Also, they've ran through their non-conference schedule, and they've been playing very, very well. And they're kind of like another one of those teams that, they're looking really good. But, like I said, conference play is opening up. This will be both teams' first conference game. So look for this one to be a slugfest as well. I'm just thinking that Wisconsin right now is kind of rebuilding. I'm going to go with Maryland in this one, and another very, very close game. So right now, like I said, keep an eye on some teams. You're going to have your Penn State, you're going to have Ohio State, you're going to have Oregon. Those are going to be your top 3 teams. Oregon plays Oregon State this week. Like I said, Oregon State's kind of struggling right now, but once again, anything can happen in those rivalry games. But like I said, definitely keep an eye on those games, that game as well. But once again, keep your eye out for Nebraska right now. They're playing really, really good football. Matt Rule does have a great thing going out there. So definitely keep your eye out for those guys, because they could sneak in and make some noise in the Big Ten. So that's it for this week. Those are my 3 games to watch for this week. Tune in next week and we'll have more for you. Okay. Thank you guys so much, and you have a great rest of your day and enjoy the football.
Thanks, Mark, for your Big Ten update and preview of this coming weekend, brought to you by Cowboy Revolution. Now let's go to the AAC and SS Army. That's right, SSN Army from Sideline Sports will be bringing us that from TrueVictory.com, veteran-owned, veteran-made. Make sure you go by and support TrueVictory.com. Use the code Furman Joust, and you can get 10% off.
Thank God for football. I'm Cuthbert from Sidelines Army. I'm here to talk to you about the American Conference. We're going to jump right into it. Let's get our Week 3 recaps before we move into Week 4. Our game of the week last week was the USF Bulls going to Miami. Let me tell you, the star, it shined bright, and then it maybe flew a little too close to the sun. The Bulls come crashing back down to earth. They lose a tough one to Miami, 49-12, after super impressive victories against number 25 Boise State and number 13 University of Florida. USF goes into Coral Gables, and they can't amount much of anything against the Hurricanes. Now, in their defense, Miami looks to be really, really good this year. Unfortunately, the AP voters are, well, frankly, they're idiots. So they take a team like USF, who's 2-1 with 2 ranked victories and, a rough victory, but a rough victory to a excellent number 5 team in the country. They go ahead and drop them right out of the polls because, of course, if you're not from a P4 prestige program, you have zero margin of error. But I'll get off my soapbox for now. The next game from last week that we had our eye on, Tulane beats Duke 34-27. This was the Darian Mensah revenge game. I will say Tulane looked pretty good in this victory. They're now 3-0. They've got 2 victories over P4 programs. Admittedly, it's Northwestern and Duke. These are not juggernauts of the P4. The one biggest issue I have right now with Tulane is the amount of offense that's going through Jake Retzlaff, their quarterback. Listen, he's a fantastic quarterback. So, if you dance with the girl that brung you when it comes to the party, but unfortunately, when so much is on his shoulders, it means that it can falter. We're going to get into that a little bit with the predictions for this week. North Texas faces Washington State. This is a great P4 mashup. And North Texas absolutely bludgeons them, 59-10. Talk about getting the brakes beat off you. The offense looked like 2024. You don't need Sheffield. You don't need Morris. The mean green offense is banging on all cylinders. Defense coming up huge. Skylar Cassidy, the new defensive coordinator there, whatever he's doing something right. Now, I will say that the score of 59-10, it's a little biased because North Texas was able to force 5 turnovers out of Washington State. Now, if you cause 5 turnovers, you deserve to win by a lot. But when you get that many extra possessions and the offense is able to click, that's not necessarily the type of production that you can replicate game after game after game. But at the very least, talk about an absolutely dominant win for North Texas. OU comes in, they smoke Temple 42-3. Icarus falls back down to earth. I did say in my preseason prediction I thought Temple was going to go 2-0 in their first 2 games before going 0-8. It appears that might be happening. I'm a fan of Casey Keeler, what he's doing at that program. But looking at the rest of Temple's schedule, it's something of a murderer's row for a team of that caliber. So we'll see how it goes. Definitely a rough week 3 for the Owls. Memphis rolls over Troy 28-7. Let me tell you, Memphis is a team that's got basically a brand new starting lineup, completely new starting lineup on offense and on defense. They were strong throughout this game. They are delivering. They're 3-0. They're feeling themselves, and they got a big SEC foe that they're going to be facing this week. We're going to get to in a minute. Florida Atlantic drops a heartbreak in the Shula Bowl. Hated rival Florida International beats them 38-28. Florida Atlantic in week 2, they showed an absolutely dominant offense against a far inferior opponent. This is a team that I thought was basically going to be all sizzle and no steak, lots and lots of offense, almost no defense. Unfortunately, 3 interceptions this past week, squandered over 350 passing yards, and FAU, unfortunately, was not able to defend the Shula Bowl. ECU rolls over Coastal Carolina 38-0. This game was a little bit closer than it looked. ECU did have a 21-point fourth quarter, so it was only 17-0 going into the fourth. 17-0 is still a game that's well in control, but they came on late. Caden Hauser finding his groove for East Carolina. You can't complain with a win like that. They've got another huge game coming up this week, so we'll get to that in a minute. Navy crushes Tulsa 42-23. Top form from the midshipmen, wire to wire. Trey Lamb still trying to get things sorted out with the Golden Hurricane. UTSA, Rice, and Charlotte, they all get needed victories, all against FCS teams. And UAB, in my stinker of the week last week, they squeeze out a win against the hapless Akron Zips, 31-28. Trent Dilfer lives to fight another day. All right, now before we get into our week 4 preview, I just want to thank our sponsor. This week, our sponsor is True Victory. True Victory is a clothing store that was developed and created by vets and first responders. They make sportswear, they make streetwear. They've got a little bit of something for everyone. If you're looking for high quality clothing, comfortable, they look good, they wear well, go to truevictory.com. We even have a promo code, and look at that. Doing it by hand, old school. Go to truevictory.com. Furman Joust is the promo code. Capital F, capital J. Furman Joust at checkout. You get 10% off your order. Go do it. It's a fantastic website with fantastic products. So looking at week 4, as crazy as this sounds, we have 3 games of the week, and I'll tell you why. Game of the week 1A is Tulane going to number 13 Ole Miss. Now, Tulane wants to be the big dog in the American Conference, and I think they have the tools to be the big dog. I don't know if they're quite performing at that level. This is a game that if they can win, they will absolutely be laying down the gauntlet as the team to beat in the AC in 2025. Personally, I think this order is maybe a little too tall. At present, 64% of all offensive yards are coming from their quarterback, Jake Retzlaff, on top of which he has 8 touchdowns, 6 rushing and 2 passing. As a team, they only have 10 touchdowns. So he's producing 80% of their touchdowns and 64% of their yards. He's a fantastic quarterback. And as a fan of Army and what Bryson Daly did last year, I understand what it's like to have a team whose success is predicated upon the quality and the performance of the quarterback. All I'm saying is that's a lot of pressure on one quarterback going into a ranked SEC hostile environment. I don't think Tulane's going to be able to pull this one out, but we'll have to see. Game of the week 1B, Arkansas, another SEC team coming to Memphis. Now, as I said earlier, Memphis has been strong on the ball, both sides, even with all these new players. That being said, Arkansas, usually an SEC doormat, looks to be a very good team this year. They started the season 2-0 against some real subpar competition. They dropped over 50 points in both games, and last week they lost to number 13 Ole Miss by 6 points, 41-35. So Arkansas, usually towards the bottom, the dregs of the SEC. This year, maybe not quite so. So, maybe an improved Memphis, an improved Arkansas. Definitely a game to watch. And the last game of the week, game 1C, North Texas is going to Michie Stadium to play Army. Now, I understand that Army is 2-1. I understand that neither of these teams are ranked. But in terms of the American Conference, this is a critical game. North Texas, they are banging on all cylinders at 3-0. They are right now appear to be much better than they were predicted to be at the start of the season. Meanwhile, Army, very depleted. They've got injuries. They're banged up, but they're coming off a bye week. And don't forget, 2 weeks ago, they shocked the world when they beat Kansas State 24-21. Last but not least, North Texas is looking to avenge truly an embarrassing moment from last year's Army victory in Denton, which was a 21-play, 94-yard, 13-minute, and 54-second touchdown drive that Army orchestrated behind Bryson Daly and Kanye Udo. If you get on social media and you interact with North Texas people, if you want to make them mad, it's easy. Just reference the drive. This is going to be a really great game. Noon on Saturday, CBS Sports. Please look it up because the implications for the American Conference this year are huge. Charlotte and Rice played tonight. It is Thursday night when I am recording this. The game just ended. Rice bests the 49ers of Charlotte 28-17. I'm very sorry to see that. Charlotte drops to 0-3. Rice seems to be resurgent. That's fantastic, but the stadium was bouncing. Joe Albin, the new hire from Ohio, he's a great coach. Charlotte is a program that needs to do well. They have a groundswell of support right now in their fan base. It is critical that they start winning some games before they lose those fans. Another huge game. Brigham Young going to East Carolina. Talk about a game at Dowdy-Ficklin. ECU looks to be hitting their stride. I mentioned last week about the game last week, how Caton Hauser did. He's banging on all cylinders. BYU, they're 2-0. Admittedly, their wins are against Stanford, which is the bottom of the P4, and Portland State, which is the bottom of the FCS. They're missing their star quarterback from last year because he's the current quarterback at Tulane. So I think ECU could absolutely squeeze out a victory here. And, we could get another American victory over a power conference school, which seemed to be coming all over the place this year because the American Conference is, in fact, the best G5 conference, and don't you forget it. UTSA is playing at Colorado State. They're currently favored to win by 4.5. They need another W. They had a tough start to the season. They started 0-2. Admittedly, Texas A&M, Texas State, the teams they lost to, those are quality teams. So starting 0-2 is not a huge deal, except that is a momentum killer. And so if you want to make waves, either on the national scene or even within the conference, you got to start stringing some wins together. They got the victory last week against an FCS school. They are better than Colorado State. They should win this game this week. We will see if Jeff Traylor and the Roadrunners can pull it out. And then, unfortunately, beyond that, most of the games appear to be G5s getting fed to P4s. So Tennessee is going to absolutely destroy the Fighting Trent Dilfers of UAB. I'm sorry to say. Georgia Tech will devour the Temple Owls. And Oklahoma State, they're just going to absolutely use and abuse the Tulsa Golden Hurricane. I am cheering for Tulsa especially hard this week, not just because they are my American Conference brethren, but because the cowards and thieves at Oklahoma State, those dastardly Cowboys, are trying to steal my Army Black Knights' 1945 national championship. Army finished the season undefeated. They were unanimously ranked #1 in the country. They were awarded the national championship. And then 9 years ago, Oklahoma State decides that because some random newspaper somewhere declared them the national champions, that they should be counted as a national championship in their stadium right now. It says that they were the 1945 national champions. Absolute frauds. Let's go, Golden Hurricane. Send the Cowboys packing. Last but not least, USF, the Bulls. They're going to get back in the win column. They're going to get back on track. They're facing HBCU, South Carolina State. This is an FCS team. It's not a strong FCS team. Byron Brown, he'll be back in form. Alexander Golish, the head coach, he'll be probably calling plays conservatively, trying to get back on track. I expect them to get back in the win column. All right. All that to say, thank you so much. Thank God for football. Go to truevictory.com. Go Army, beat Navy.
Right, thanks to our good friends over at the Sideline Sports Network, our good friends over at Army, and also thanks to our friends at truevictory.com as well. So, Jay, let's talk about this upcoming week's games. We've got a really good slate again this week, and so we're going to do our picks this week, and those are going to be brought to us this week by Cheerwine. So, Jay, we're going to kick it off over here with our nooner, and it's going to be Texas Tech, Utah. So who are you taking in this big-time ranked matchup?
Give me Utah.
So I like the Utes as well in this one. So our friend Savannah's not going to like that, but that's okay. Her brother's over at BYU. So we are going to take Texas Tech. So I am giving them love this week. Illinois, Indiana's next up, Jay. This one's a really two high-powered offenses. So which offense do you think gets this one done?
This one right here is a pick 'em. Give me Illinois.
I like that. So I like Indiana this week. I really do think that they're still a lot of talent on that team. I think it's a really big game for the Big Ten. So give me Indiana this week. And then we've got a couple games out west. We're going to Washington and Oregon. So this time we're going Washington State, Jay. So who are you taking in this one?
This is the Apple Cup. Give me the Huskies to beat up on the Washington State.
Absolutely. So, Coach Dicker's moved on to Wake Forest. So he left Washington State last year. I like the Huskies as well this week in the Apple Cup. They're going to take that home this week. And then we're heading a little bit further south to Oregon and Oregon State. So, Jay, who are you taking this one? You got Ducks or Beavers?
The Oregon State Beavers are not very good at all. I don't see them being able to compete with Oregon. Give me Oregon in this game.
I like the Ducks too this week. I think the Oregon Ducks, to me, they've been a really good team, and they're obviously one of my picks to make the national title game this year. I really like them. So give me Oregon this week. I think they win the Big Ten as well. So this one's another really good in-state rival. Not many people talking about it, but SMU and TCU, a really long history between these two teams that don't like each other. So, Jay, are you going to take the Mustangs, or are you going with the Horned Frogs again?
Give me the Mustangs in this game. The ACC will have SMU in the ACC championship game this year. I'm calling it right now. They will be facing probably Miami, and that's the team I'm picking right now, SMU over TCU.
Jay with the bold prediction of the week from South Carolina down there. He's taking the Mustangs. I'm riding that same horse, Jay, so I'm going to take the Mustangs this week as well. TCU is really good, though. I got to watch them a little earlier in the year against North Carolina, but I think people are kind of sleeping on SMU this year, so I'm kind of right there with you. I really do like the Mustangs this week as well. And then we go to another Big Four rivalry game after we had a Big Four rivalry game that we were live for in Winston-Salem last week, Jay. We've got NC State taking on Duke in Durham and Wallace Wade this week. So does Duke continue the trend of beating up on their brothers on Tobacco Road, or does NC State get it done on the road?
Give me Duke over the Fighting Annabelles.
NC State's a really interesting team. This is a total pick'em game per FPI. It's 50.5 to NC State right now. Duke's at 49.5. So, I mean, Duke's a 3.5-point favorite at home. This game is going to be really tough to pick. I really kind of struggled with this one as I wrote our preview article on GSM, greenvillesportsmedia.com. You guys should check that out as well. So Mensah's been playing really well. He's one of the top quarterbacks in the ACC right now for Duke. He's got over 1,000 yards passing, 8 touchdowns. They've been playing really well in the second half. Both of these teams are basically second-half teams right now, their last 2 weeks. So I think it's going to be a really good one. It's going to be fun to see. I took the Wolfpack in a really close one this week, Jay. I think it's going to be 31-28. I think this game is going to be 6 points on either side. Either team could win this game, and I think it's going to come down to a field goal either way. Duke's really been turnover prone, which is why I went with NC State this week. They are at -6 in the turnover margin. So I took NC State this week. I think Duke's going to make a critical turnover. That'll give NC State some points. That'll be the difference in this one. And then last but not least, we're going to our game of the week is going to be down in the SEC. We're going to go with Auburn and Oklahoma. So, Jay, does the Sooners get it done, or does Auburn continue to surprise some people?
Oklahoma all day, every day against Auburn.
I like it. Brent Venables done a really good job on his defense down there. So you can't count them out in this one. I really like Oklahoma. We've picked Oklahoma 2 weeks in a row now too, so I like the Sooners as well in this one. So those are our picks of the week, brought to you by Cheerwine as well. And then I think the last part of our show, Jay, we're going to have to find out where somebody is. I don't know what he's doing, what he's got going on, but I heard he's got a couple of picks for us again this week. We're going to let Uncle Bobby take that one away for us. And that's going to be sponsored by our good friends down at the Point RV at Lake Hartwell. So hope you guys enjoy Uncle Bobby's picks this week.
Hello, everybody. It's your old pal, Uncle Bobby. And this week, brought to you by the Point RV at Lake Hartwell, Uncle Bobby gives you his picks. I'm gonna take Oklahoma over them Auburn Tigers. I don't like no Tigers other than the Clemson. So give me Oklahoma with red babies. That's right, Mr. Green Jeans himself. He's gonna beat up on them Auburn Tigers and break Oklahoma into the top 10. And then give me my boys, Deborah Sweeney and the Clemson Tigers over the Syracuse Orangemen this week. Woo-hoo! CLEMSON, Fight, Tiger, fight, Tiger, fight. Yeah! Go, Tigers!
My good friend Uncle Bobby is always doing something. This time he's down there in the cabin somewhere in the woods over there at the Point RV. So at Lake Hartwell, I think he's caught some fish. I don't know what else he caught, but his picks were a little bit crazy this week. So I hope everybody enjoyed that part of our show as well. That's always one of our favorite parts, to see our good friend Uncle Bobby and see where he's coming out from. So make sure you guys also check out the Point RV at Lake Hartwell as well for any of those needs that you would like for. If you want to get away, go see those guys over at Lake Hartwell.
Everybody, it is Adam with this week's Mountain West portion of the show. And we got a full slate of games coming up this Saturday, just a week after we hardly had any. And we'll get to the full slate here in just a moment, but let's relive last week. I mean, crying out loud, to my surprise, the Lobos destroy UCLA in the Rose Bowl by a final of 35-10. Embarrassed them so much that they ended up firing their head coach just a couple days later. The win gave the Lobos a 2-1 record on the season, and we got a big one for them coming up this week that we'll get to. Elsewhere, it was the start of conference games. My game of the week last week was Air Force and Utah State, and in that one, much again to my surprise, it was Utah State coming out on fire with a 49-30 victory over the Air Force Falcons. It was a 14-10 game at halftime, and in the third quarter, it was Utah State just blowing the doors off of the Falcons on their way to the victory. Utah State is now 2-1 on the season, 1-0 in conference, while Air Force is 1-1 and 0-1 in conference. Elsewhere around the league last week, it was Hawaii beating Portland State 23-3. Fresno State took care of Southern 56-7. Wyoming lost at home to number 20 Utah 31-6. And it was Nevada losing at home to Middle Tennessee 14-13. All right, we talked about this week a really, really big slate of games. And I've got my top three. My first game, of course, there's a lot of conference games this week, in conference, I should say. Boise State travels to take on Air Force. That game's at 5 p.m. Mountain Time. That's also 7 p.m. Eastern Time. That you can catch that game on CBS Sports Network. Boise State enters that game with an 11.5 point spread over the Falcons. Given that the Falcons kind of struggled last week in their loss to Utah State, Boise State is a much, much better team than Utah State. I do like the Broncos in this one. They will probably cover that 11.5 point spread, and I like them winning big in this one by the final of 56-28. Big game out on the island, late night on Saturday night. So late that it's Sunday morning on the East Coast as Fresno State travels to meet the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors. That game is at 10 p.m. Mountain Time, 9 p.m. in the Pacific, and like I said, midnight out in the East Coast. Fresno State Bulldogs coming off of a big win over the Southern University Jaguars last week to push their record to 3-1. Hawaii is also at 3-1 with only one loss on the season, coming against Arizona earlier this year. However, back-to-back wins over just Sam Houston State and Portland State last week. Hawaii, a lot of that 3-1 might be a little bit of fluff. They have given up a ton of yards rushing in their two previous games. 177 yards rushing they led up against Stanford, and 183 yards rushing they led up against Arizona. We know that Fresno State loves to run the football. They will lean on the running game nonstop. And I think that they're going to lean on it this one, and Hawaii may not just have an answer for it. I like the Bulldogs to win this one and cover their 2.5 point spread by a final of 35-20. My last game of the week, I touched on New Mexico State. It's actually going to be next week, not this week. But my final game of the week actually takes place in Boulder as Wyoming goes and visits the Colorado Buffaloes. That game is at 8:15 p.m. Mountain Time, 10:15 p.m. Eastern Time. That game will be on ESPN, by the way, as the Cowboys will look to try to bounce back from this previous week's loss, as they are 2-1 on the season, and Colorado is 1-2. Colorado is kind of like all over the place again. Really, really good offense, just like last year. Really, really horrible defense, just like last year. The biggest difference is, though, they don't have the talent nor the depth to hang with teams. However, in this one, it's going to be a little bit tougher for the Wyoming Cowboys. I just feel like their defense can't quite stop Colorado enough. The total in this one is only around 44. Colorado is a 13.5 point favorite. I think Wyoming covers that spread, but Wyoming will cover the spread. Colorado ends up winning the football game. I like the Buffaloes in this one by a final of 24-17. Elsewhere around the league, UNLV will visit Miami of Ohio. That game is at 10 a.m. Mountain Time, noon Eastern Time on ESPNU on Saturday. Idaho visits San Jose State. That game is at 3 p.m. Mountain, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Nevada will take their game on the road against Western Kentucky. That game is at 5 p.m. Mountain Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN+. McNeese State will visit Utah State. The game is at 6 p.m. Mountain, 8 p.m. Eastern Time on the Mountain West Network. Texas San Antonio will go on the road to take on Colorado State. The game's at 7:30 p.m. Mountain Time, 9:30 p.m. in the East Coast. That game will be on Fox Sports 1. And the other game that's going on this weekend, Cal visits San Diego State. The game's at 8:30 p.m. Mountain Time, 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time, and that will be on CBS Sports Net. For the Mountain West portion of the show, I'm Adam. You can give me a follow on X at SSN New Mexico Lobos. Catch you guys next week. Have a great weekend of college football.
Well, Jay, that's going to be all of our show for this week. We've had a really good week. We've had a lot of good segments. Everybody's gotten their reviews in. We're going to now get to see what goes on tomorrow. So we all get to enjoy the games starting tonight as well. We had a game last night where Rice beat UNC Charlotte to kick us off for the week. And a couple more games tonight from the Big Ten. So Rutgers is going to be in action tonight. So you guys can enjoy that part of your weekend. Hopefully you guys have a fantastic college football Saturday. Enjoy the games, enjoy the show, and I hope that this prepares you for another fantastic Saturday. So once again, our friends from all of our sponsors, thank you to all of you for giving us the opportunity to talk football here on Thank God for Football. So enjoy the games, have fun, and then we will see you guys next week.
TGFF, thank God for football. Game day. 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 You have tuned in to another episode of Thank God for Football, brought to you by the Fanboys, powered by Greenville Sports Media.